Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. I'm going to give you a little tip of the day. Set your own boundaries. Don't count on somebody else to do it for you. And the reason for that tip of the day is because today's topic is when a system tells you what you should feel and where you should put your boundaries. Why am I doing this? Microaggressions, folks. Microaggressions. This is, matter of fact, a lot of people are going to probably see this and they will probably think that I am being extremely aggressive, but I'm not. At the end of the day, I'm going to give you the clinical reasoning behind everything that I say so that you can understand where I'm coming from. And for those of you who want to attack me for addressing the issue of microaggressions, well, feel free. Because, your massive aggressions would mean absolutely nothing to me. Why? Because we should be having this conversation about microaggressions. We shouldn't be deciding for other people where the boundaries go. That being said, let's give you some history and background on where this all came from. So I once sat with a client in my office and we were talking about would it be appropriate to slap somebody on the butt in the office? And they were like, no. And I said, well, what if that person was your spouse? And then they went, yeah, and they hemmed and hawed. And I said, it's still probably not the best idea in the world, but it wouldn't be necessarily inappropriate. Right? It's your spouse. And maybe you and your spouse have that as kind of a thing. You smack each other on the butt when you walk by. Not really that big of a deal when you're looking at it from the lens of it's a spouse. But when you look in the professional environment. Now, why did I tell you this story? Because it has been determined that physical contact in the workplace is never okay. Well, not never, but just about never. Why? Because historically, people have been really stupid. Yeah, that's true. People have not established good and healthy boundaries for themselves. And so somebody who was running the system stepped in and said, we are going to help you with these boundaries. We know that it's hard to tell people not to harass you or rape you or abuse you physically or emotionally. We know that it's hard to have a voice there, which is true. It is tough to have a voice there. I agree that it's tough. And I'm saying to all of you, have a voice there. I don't care if it's tough. Why? Because you are responsible for your bubble. And if people now, look, I understand there's going to be extremes here. Well, some people you can set the boundary and they won't listen. That's true. That's a fact. And those people you give them whatever terminology you want, evil, mean, cruel, whatever. They are. But microaggression training isn't going to help those people. Those people are mean, cruel, evil, whatever. This isn't going to help them. What it does, I'll tell you the problem I'm having with microaggression training, the one that I just went to. Well, first, let's make sure we have a good, clear definition. It's a term used for derogatory or negative attitudes toward stigmatized or culturally marginalized groups. What does that mean? That means if you're not a stigmatized or culturally marginalized group, you don't matter. Start with that right from the beginning, based on its description. Well, I already have a problem with that because that's not true. I think all of you matter, regardless of whether you're stigmatized or in a marginalized group. I don't care if you are black or white or brown or tall or thin or whatever. None of that stuff matters to me. You are a unique individual, and you should be loved and respected as a unique individual, period. The next thing I wanted to tell you is the other description for microaggression. Subtle prejudice. Let's be real, folks. We all have prejudice. That's true. We all have slants, we call them blind spots. I've done things on blind spots. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail on the blind spots that you and I have, but we all have blind spots. That's a fact also. But here's the problem I have with the whole microaggression training thing. It assumes one major issue. It assumes that you are not capable of doing fill in the blank yourself. It assumes that it has to help you in order for you to be safe or comfortable, which is where boundaries come in. There's only two reasons we set boundaries ever. It's for safety or for comfort. And microaggressions, look, on the little deal that I took, man, this was so ridiculous. Though conceptually, I get the idea behind microaggressions intimately. I'm a counselor, people. That's what I do. I talk about these subtleties. But when it's assuming that you are not capable of managing these microaggressions or aggressions yourself, it's saying you're weak and we know better. Now, let me just ask you, are you the victim? Are you really the person? And I know that there are people out there who have fully swallowed the I am a victim pill. I know, I'm aware. But let me ask you personally, are you the victim? Not have you been a victim in a circumstance, right? We've all been a victim at certain times in our lives. You may have been bullied. You may have been beat up. You may have been, the list gets really gruesome, folks. I get it. I'm not talking about those individual situations. And yes, some people put themselves in positions. I'm not blaming the victims. I'm not doing that, folks. But some people do. No, and some people do put themselves in positions where they're more likely to be a victim. For instance, if you're out at a bar at 2:00 in the morning when the bar closes down, did you know that you're more likely to become a victim? I'm not saying that's right. I think culturally we need to fix that. I do. And if you don't want to be the victim, be smarter about where you put yourself. Also, if that is a concerning time period for you, then let's culturally come together, unify, and send a clear message that we want protection so that we can openly participate after the bar closes down, walking to our car safely. I agree with that too. It's not one or the other, folks. It's both. Back to the microaggressions, though. If the assumption is you're the victim and you cannot manage it yourself, and you bite into that, you think that that's real. Unfortunately, you're part of the problem we're having. Every one of you is capable of saying, I don't like it when you told me to run faster. It made me feel fat, or it made me feel slow, or it made me feel like you're better than me and you're superior. Every one of us is capable of doing that. We are also capable of saying, if I am insecure, I need to do something about my insecurity strengthen myself so that I can have more confidence, more courage, and be a better version of me. Both of those are true, not just one or the other, both. All right. Why I'm getting into this for you today is because I have a great solution for you. The two reasons we set boundaries, folks, are comfort and safety. If it's really, truly a physical, emotional, spiritual, environmental safety issue, by all means, run to HR or whatever. If it's not, practice managing it yourself. Set a boundary, and if the boundary gets disrespected, then address that the boundary was being disrespected the next time. And then if it continues, run it up. Why do I say this? Because that goofy training I took, it basically said to run to mommy or daddy. And any of you who have siblings, I know I'm using strong language in here, folks. And I hope this, I don't want this to be offensive, I promise you, but I do want it to be helpful. If any of you have siblings, you know that running to mom and dad for everything is not a healthy response. It's just not a good response. There's a certain level at which you need to strengthen yourself so that you're not dependent on somebody else or something else, the system, to make you feel a certain way. In the clinical world, we call that codependence. And unfortunately, the system is telling you, we want you to be codependent, to not make decisions without us. By the way, that would, if we saw that in a couple, we would call that toxic. Meaning, you make me less than I was without you. You weaken me. And I make you less than you were without me. Right? That's toxic or abusive if it's only one direction. Don't buy into it. Don't buy into it. This diversity and inclusion lesson that I got to go through firsthand, it was frankly, I'm gonna give it to you straight. I've been shooting straight this whole time, but it was a brainwashing mechanism. And as a therapist, I can see that clearly. It's telling you if you don't fit into a certain class, you are bad. That's false. Don't buy it. It's telling you that if you do fit into a certain class, you're weak. That's false. Don't buy it. The diversity and inclusion stuff shouldn't make you less of a man or a woman. It shouldn't do that. And if it's doing that, if it's teaching you to be a victim, it's a terrible, terrible lesson. If it's teaching you how to establish boundaries, make relational negotiations so that things can stop and things can continue and stuff like that goes on, then great. But that's not what it's doing in its current form, at least the version that I saw. I'm hoping there's much better versions out there. But the version I saw was awful. So that's what I had for you today. I hope my tip of the day, set your own boundaries, sticks. And I hope that you have a better understanding of microaggressions, because it is good knowledge to have, to understand that we have these subtle blind spots, right? But it's just as important for those blind spots to be uncovered for all of us to set social expectations with our peers. And that means you have to have the courage to do it. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, all those things, share with friends, get this word out there. We're trying to help people, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening.
We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.